Hi, everybody. I have another phone call interview from a PayPal donation. And remember, if you make a contribution of any amount to the PayPal link in the description box and you want your story made into a video, you go right to the top of the list. Also, through PayPal donation, you could do a call like this. Who we have with us is a man named Narc. He's very active on the channel. He's very active within the narcissism community. A lot of you probably already know who he is. I'm glad I got getting a male story in here as well. He's someone, I got a little bit of his background. He's been dealing with narcissistic issues from his family, and then it led into, his personal life, his married life, and something he's been dealing with basically his whole life. So, how you doing, Narc thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thank you, Ollie. Thank you for having me on your channel. You have no idea how much that means to me. I'm honored.
No worries, no worries. So where do you want to start? Tell everybody a little about your background, your history of abuse through narcissism, and where it's led you.
You've been abused nearly your whole life. I guess you could go back to the beginning, but that may take more than an hour. So, I recently contacted you over the most recent escapade with these people, these monsters, was a no contact attempt. Um, my ex malignant narcissist wife, we have kids, so I'm at low contact. And I tried to go no contact with really the rest of my family, especially my mother. And we'll get into more of that later. But if you try to go no contact with a bunch of narcissists, it seems that they contact each other.
Right, right. That's something I've talked about on my channel. The narcissist will use whoever it is. They'll find out who your greatest enemy is and then befriend them and try to use them against you. That's what I went through with my divorce. That's what a lot of people who go no contact with narcissists, the narcissist will then try to buddy up with, like, your arch enemy or people you don't get along with, just to because it's a more intimidating type of enabler to have in their arsenal.
Oh, exactly. That is exactly what happened the entire 16 years that I was married, and it happened the entire time that I was growing up in the house. These people will befriend your enemy, and I don't understand it. It's completely counterintuitive. Why would you do that?
It's it's a means of control. It's You don't control your friends, you don't control your enemies. I am a part of. You have no privacy. There are no boundaries. I am a part of every single part of your life, and will control those parts of your life to get my way. And that's really what it is. I'm sure your mother's trying to get something, either emotional, or I don't even know if it's monetary, but your mother's just trying to control you, get you under control. And the best way to do that, she sees now that you've gone no contact, is through somebody who's now your enemy, an ex-wife, because we all know how bad divorces can be.
Oh yeah, that's what happened. This has been going on for a couple of years. It's been ramping up this. And I told her, I gave her the big fuck you. I'm like, I can't deal with this. You lie constantly. I catch her in lies. There's a story behind that. There's multiple layers of this that we couldn't even get into in a reasonable amount of time. But yes, that's exactly what they do to control you. And she got my attention this time, and I did call.
Mm-hmm.
And I texted her some nasty stuff like, look, I don't know what your fucking problem is, man, but this is you've done the last thing to me. So on December 20th, 2015, I finally realized these people could give a shit about me. Period. Any idea that they were somehow not narcissistic, not abusers, went completely out the window on that day. Because it's been a recurring theme since childhood. I've been buddying up to people that they exactly crossing your boundaries and befriending people who will hurt you or take their side.
Right. And that's just a means to get you to second guess yourself, so you can't even stand by your convictions, and you can't believe your own feelings because they make you feel like you're crazy for even feeling this way. And they're very good at presenting a situation as something innocent or something you're blowing out of proportion or something that you caused that's actually your fault. And you'll stand there as you're standing in front of them because we're so emotionally involved in it, and you can't think on your feet when they're standing there. But usually when you're on your way home or you've hung up the phone and a couple hours later, a couple days later, when you sit and process it again logically, you realize that they're completely full of shit, you're being manipulated, and you're pissed off at yourself. Well, why couldn't I think of this when this person was right in front of me? So you don't then re-engage because you're just so tired of the fight anyway. You just basically raise the white flag in your head, and which is what they want. They just want you to shut up at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. They want you to shut up and do what they want you to do. Even being married to that ex-malignant narc that I was with, who's just like my mother, I finally realized, we marry our parents here. It was this continual, it was like a continual put down. It was like just a big giant insult. It was never friendly or warm or kind. And why we stick around, I don't know. I guess because I didn't have a better frame of reference growing up. I don't know why. But these people will do these things over and over. And they don't stop. They're relentless. It never stops. Even when you go no contact, it seems to get worse. They seem to, because you start to hear things through the grapevine, through your kids and through neighbors, just the most bizarre things.
The reason why, from my perspective, the reason why I put up with it is because my confidence and my self-esteem and my soul had been so beaten and ripped out. You're so afraid, to stand up for yourself. You think you can't survive, without these people. If you try to make a change, it's going to ultimately fail. It's ultimately going to fall apart. And it's not rational. Your life's not going to fall apart. Your life is falling apart now, and you're going through such anxiety now because you have these people in your life and you want to get away from them, but you feel like you almost deserve it because probably from your mother, because she sounds like just a peach to have grown up with like mine, they steal your confidence at the youngest age possible. They steal your confidence, your self-esteem, your ability to be independent. They make you feel like you need them in your life. Otherwise, your life is going to utterly implode. And it's just a fear and an intimidation, like how an abuser gets their abuse not to run or tell the police. It's the same thing, but it's like a mental thing.
Oh, it's exactly a mental thing. Now, there were beatings when I was a child, and there were, things happened, and she let particularly two uncles of mine used to they were terrorists to me. I mean, I was probably 6 or 7, and they would do these things. They would, take off my clothes and make me stay outside, and this happened many times, and just I'm air quoting now, teasing, because it wasn't. It was really terrorism.
Mm-hmm.
Break stuff, steal my things. And then when I tell her about it, it was as if it never happened.
Right.
She acted like, that these things, I said, Mom, they're doing these things to me. And I mean, from physical, emotional, even some sexual abuse, she wouldn't do anything. And so
now let me ask you, how old were these uncles?
They were adults. They were at least 18 and over.
Okay. They're younger than your mom or older than your mom?
No, they were younger than my mom.
Okay.
They were younger than my mom. They were her younger half-brother who finally ended up shooting himself in the head about 10 years ago, and I can't say I was real sorry about it. But.
Right. I wouldn't be after what they did to you. I mean, it sounds like your mother dealt with...
There wasn't a good day. There wasn't a fun time with these people. It was constantly, and it was in the whole family. That's just what they do. The whole fucking family was like that.
Yeah.
Like, good Lord.
The whole family's full of abusers and humiliators and just any reason to put their hands on you physically, whether it be, to beat you or to touch you or whatever it is. And
yeah, so that's what you grow up with. So no wonder I would marry someone that was so unkind. and that's putting it very lightly. There's wait till you hear some of that. It's just it's one thing after another. Once you get away from them, though, you realize and you look back, and people like you and Narcissism Survivor and Narcissist Free, these are some other channels that I like besides yours. Once you listen to the stories, you go, God, man, mine's almost exactly alike, and it's heartbreaking to hear this stuff. Then you realize, God, my story's heartbreaking. What the hell? I never even looked at it like this until recently, last couple of years, maybe.
Right. Well, you think you're the only one that could possibly be going through this stuff. Like I'm 43, so like my grade school was primarily in the late 70s, early 80s, and they started talking about being abused and stuff, but not to the level of what the reality is of what's going on. Still nobody opened their mouth, so you always thought it had to be kids in some other town, in some other place, and it just didn't seem like the kids in my school could have been going through the same thing. And I got to tell you, I got a bunch of subscribers that are from my school who knew me growing up, and they're like, "Shit, we're going through the same fucking thing." And I'm like, God, I wish I knew that back then. At least we would have had each other.
There's always a handful of kids like that. There's always a handful of kids you can tell, and I can tell the adults now, man. What happens when you're in a family like that is it screws up your radar. You don't understand when you're constantly gaslighted and constantly smeared, and you don't understand that someone's always telling you in your frame of reference, someone who's supposed to care about you, they're lying their ass off to you. It screws up your radar, your navigation system for your whole life. So then you find more people like that. Those kids, now I know. I see those people now too. Not your friends, but I can see it now. When I don't know, I'm a better judge of character now or something, but I can tell when people have had this kind of abuse. It's very uncanny now.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm sure now that you understand what narcissism is and the personality disorders are and the spectrum, you're probably a lot like me, where I could spot it immediately. Like I could spot it immediately. People who have been through it and are hiding something, and it's a way that you carry yourself, a way they talk, and it's usually when they talk about their family or their past. You can hear it. You can hear it in their voice. There's always just little clues to know people that have been through this.
Yeah, because unless you've been through it, you don't understand other people, and they just look at you like a dog to a fence. They just don't understand what a narcissist is like, and it's not just one episode. It's like there's another guy I recently found that's in the narcissist community. Oh God, what's his name? Understanding Narcissism. He's a young guy. And
I've seen him. Yeah, I know who you mean.
Holy moly. He said something the other day. He said that they calibrate their messages. And that's it. It's calibrated. It's calibrated to screw with you. Nothing's ever like a blatant lie unless you actually absolutely like corner them on something, and then they'll go ahead and lie. But other than that, it's always being calibrated. Everything. It's always like I said, it breaks your navigation system because they're giving you false information all the time.
Right, and I guess he calls it calibrating. I call it calculating. Whereas
there you go, calculating, same thing. The navigation is what I called it before I heard you guys. Then calculating and calibrating you wouldn't know it unless you went through it.
Right.
No way.
People will confuse it with a chemical imbalance or some kind of psychopathy or something like that. Whereas personality disorders, the lies they tell and the stories they tell and the actions that they pull off are to protect their lie. And there's a calculation in that, where their lies are very specific, okay? Their lies have seeds inside them where if certain questions are asked challenging it, it can trigger other things in order to still make you look bad, okay? That is a purposeful act. That is a calculating act, which tells you the narcissists and these people with these personality disorders absolutely know what they're doing when they're lying to you. Whereas somebody who has, not borderline person, bipolar disorder is a big one. They have no control over what they're saying. So when they're acting irrationally, they're not saying things that make sense. Okay, they're saying nutty things that are out there from left field, and their emotions are completely irrational. Whereas the narcissist or somebody under a personality disorder, every emotion that they spout out is a calculated emotion in order to spark a response from you. They are sizing you up, they are analyzing you as they do it. The only time you will see genuine anger and rage and see them actually not make sense is when they're cornered in their lie and they have nowhere else to turn. That's where you'll see the nasty lashing out coming, and then the irrational shit where they'll just throw anything at you and hope it sticks to you to try to intimidate you. But if you're able to get them to that point, you've already got them, and you've usually already won the argument, because then they've gotten to the irrational part. Once you're able to sort through the calculating nature and not get thrown off by their lies, and be able to point by point take them down and show them where they're lying and why you know they're lying, that's when they finally will lose total control. But that's not out of a chemical imbalance. That's just out of sheer blind rage that their tactics aren't working anymore.
Exactly. And when I told the last time, this episode that's been going on has happened actually since last year, the last year and a half. Things don't go away. When I called her on, this is my narc mother on what they call egg donor, whatever. I hate to even say she's my mother. When I finally caught her on it and caught her red-handed lying again, her voice changed. I mean, you could hear her gritting her teeth saying that, because I told her, I said, you know what? I said, I have a pretty good memory. And she grits her teeth and said, I have a good memory too. You can hear her just start to lose her mind.
Mm-hmm.
She's getting ready to use whatever, ammunition she has. I mean, she starts, which is why this is what led up to this event this Christmas, where I was like, I'm not going to see any people. I'm not doing this. I'm happier when I'm away from you.
Right.
And so when you call them on it, you do see that, and man, it's like it's really spooky. It's the strangest thing I've ever seen, and unless you see it, you wouldn't know it. Am I right?
No, you're right. I mean, it would intimidate most people that they try it on, but us, because that's what's always worked on us in the past. But when we're able to see through it and anticipate it and be ready for it and fight back, that's when they really lose their mind. Soon as you said, I have a really good memory, okay, you were basically telling your mother, okay, I'm not believing any of your bullshit. I know what happened. So now your mother, it's something like we used to do when you interrogate people. You never tell them exactly what you know, because you let their imagination run wild, because they know everything they did. And if you keep it a little bit vague, they'll start a lot of times defending other bad things they did that you're not even talking about. So it's a good way to find out what's really going on in their head. So when you say stuff like, I have a really good memory, your mother's now like, oh shit, he's trying to tell me he remembers everything I did. And now she's in this really quick mental panic. What is he going to throw at me?
All are some things that she remembered only recently by watching your channel and other people's channels, where I remember and I'm going to tell you something here. I've never told anybody this. This is part of why I need to remain mostly anonymous. Is she had her hands under my covers about 3 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the fuck she was doing under there, but it didn't seem right, because I remember it vividly. I remember going, what are you doing, Mommy? This is absolute truth. This woman is a goddamn monster. And although I don't think she actually did molest me, I think she was thinking about it. I'm telling you, man, these people, they have more evil in them than you can even imagine. You only see the tip of the iceberg with their bullshit. You don't know what they're capable of.
Oh, exactly. And what it sounds like to me, based on what you already told me about your uncles, her half brothers, that her whole family dynamic probably has a good history of sexual abuse in it.
I'm
Okay?
sure it does. Absolutely. It has to.
It has to. So either she's been through it, she's probably definitely been through it. The brothers obviously picked it up from somewhere. Okay? So your mother knowing that this is going on was going on in the past, that her family has this propensity to abuse children and to be really sexually inappropriate. Then her son comes to her and tells her basically this same shit is going on. She served you up to the predators at that point because it was probably easier on her as long as they had you to fuck with. Now they're not going to fuck with her anymore. You understand? And it's probably another thing where, well, I'm not going to let him have it better than I had it, because when they flip and they become narcissists themselves, what they'll do is the abused narcissist, the one who has been abused, okay, and then makes that active decision that they're going to now make themselves feel better by carrying on the legacy of abuse. Okay? They're making an active decision to serve you up, knowing it's wrong, but not giving a shit. Because,
Right.
it's going to give them some short-term supply and some, again, so like a revenge supply almost. They make them ruining your life almost makes them feel better because they had it happen to them. Instead of taking the child and say, I want this child to have it better than me, I want to make sure my child has it worse than me because I had it so bad.
I think that's right. There's nothing else that makes sense. Once this all starts to unravel and you start to think back over the decades, that is exactly what I mean, I can't go through every single little thing that she ever said, but it was constant put downs. Like, are you too good to this or are you too good to that? That's what she was always telling me. For some reason, she always wanted me to feel like that was one of her little catchphrases. You think you're too good to, hey man, I was doing everything I could do.
Right.
I don't know what else she wanted me to do, but apparently I was too good for it. I don't know. But then that she'd say these things when I would, try to recap or recall the past, about what happened. And, obviously she does remember because, she starts to grit her teeth and tells me how good her memory is. But she'd say things, I'm going to quote this is verbatim. These are the things, the physical stuff, yeah, that sucks. The sexual stuff, that sucks too. These are not pleasant experiences. The really damaging things are the things where they say, that's not how I remember it.
Mm-hmm.
What? Or she'd say, I understand how you could see it that way. Or you must be mistaken. You must have misunderstood. And her other favorite is, what on earth are you talking about? And so you tell her, that something's happened, and she tells you, what on earth are you talking about? Your uncle could have never done that to you.
Mm-hmm.
Bullshit. I'm telling you, I was there. So...
Well, yeah, they're never going to admit what they did. So it's always something, their responses are always something to shake your confidence, question your sanity, tell you you're making it up or hallucinating it, attack your credibility. Never like, that never happened. Tell me what you remember. See, if somebody came to me and said, God forbid, you have a child and your child would come and say, "Yeah, you came and used to come into my room at night, okay, and you used to touch me inappropriately." I wouldn't be like, "What are you taught that never?" I'd be like, "What are you taught? Like, what exactly are you? Tell me the specifics of what you think I did, and when, where, how, okay, so I can understand." But that's not what they do. They just, I would want to know. Any rational person would be like, wouldn't say, "Oh, I'm sorry, that's how you remember it. You're misinterpreting it." It's like, whoa, wait a minute here. What exactly? When did this happen? Where did it happen? What was I doing? You would want every specific detail if you're being accused of something so horrific and abhorrent. So you could you wouldn't just be happy like, "Oh, I never touched, you touched me." "No, I didn't." "Oh, okay." You wouldn't want to find out if you were clearly innocent. You wouldn't want to find out every detail of why you thought the way you do? No. Yeah, of course you would. But that's not what the narcissist sexual abuser wants. They just want to give you one flat out, your crazy denial and shut you up so you'll never talk about it again. That's what they want. And that's not how somebody who's truly innocent of something reacts.
True. I learned the difference between reaction not long ago. Being defensive is not the same as offensive behavior. If you tell me I've done something, my behavior will become offensive suddenly. Like, I'm going to start getting to the bottom of this. Defensive behavior looks the same way, but it's not the same thing. She's completely on the defensive. This woman used to come in my room in the middle of the night over and over again just to wake me up, just to tell me, I'm worried about you and this and that. I'm talking about 8, 9, 10, 11 years old, waking me up at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning sometimes nightly. I don't know why she would do it. I still don't get it. She wouldn't let me sleep. It's very strange.
Fear of abandonment, fear of losing control of you. Based on, from what you're telling me about her coming into your room, there might have been times that she had been doing it. Maybe you're blocking it out. Maybe you didn't wake up, you don't remember it. Okay? So, because she knows she's abusing you. Whether it be sexually, definitely serving you up to your uncles. She's not doing her parental duty there. The name calling, the backbiting, all that other stuff. She knows all of that is wrong as well. Okay? But then she wants to wake you up. It's like, you know why the police come to your house to raid your house at 2, 3 in the morning? Because you're asleep. And when you're woken up, you're confused and you don't know what the hell is going on. The narcissist uses the same tactic. That's why they like to come in and drop shit on you in your sleep. When you wake up, they love to wake you up. They love to be there and then start attacking you a lot of times right out of a dead sleep, because they're getting you at your weakest point. You're asleep, and the second you wake up, you don't even know what the hell is going on. My mother I used to wake up to beatings all the time. And it would take an hour after the beating ended to even figure out what the hell happened. That's just another tactic of control, using when you're asleep to come at you with something.
I think so too. I think that is what happened at the time. I obviously didn't have any reference. I didn't know why she would do that, and I hadn't even considered it until the last, maybe this year, when I remembered a lot of these things. I didn't remember everything, and I'm still remembering these odd behaviors. Nothing made sense with this woman, and it didn't make sense with my sisters either. I mean, one of my oldest sisters is a complete raging. Now, she's like not a covert. She's an overt narcissist bitch. The others are covert. It's very difficult to see what they do.
Mm-hmm.
And the woman the monster I was married to, same thing. It's very difficult to see the covert. At least with an overt one, you can see them coming. When they raise their hand up at you and they're getting ready to strike you, they're going to hit you.
Yeah.
The covert stuff, to me, is what's more damaging, because it's hard to tell anyone that you've been. I can tell, the beatings or the lying to, or you catch someone, but it's all that covert stuff that screws your whole head up. To me, that's worse.
Oh, exactly. I agree. I mean, the covert narcissist is so dangerous, because a lot of the times they will play themselves off as victims too. And then when you stop and analyze
what gaslighting, I never did that. I never said that. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, I was there. Right. I heard you. No, you must have misunderstood.
Mm-hmm.
Or roll up on somebody that you've never met before, and this happened all the time with the ex. That monster I was married to. I'd roll up on someone I'd never met before, and they would instantly have this real put-off attitude with me. Now, why? If you've never met me before, and this happened dozens of times.
Mm-hmm.
Why? What do you think you know about me? Because these people act like they're the victim, but they're not. They are the victimizer.
Exactly. And that's
never did one thing wrong ever, which, if you're not a narcissist, you probably look back like me and go, well, yeah, I was wrong here, and I can get better in this, and my personality could stand a change here. We do things. We're human. But if you even fart the wrong way, man, these people, they'll hold it against you for decades.
Oh yeah, they never forget because, when they're slighted, they have this burning desire for revenge.
Yeah.
And they can't let it lie ever. So that's why it's like you can never ever be done with them because they need. Look, they'll never have the narcissist is never going to have. It's like drugs. They're never going to get that first high they get the first time they abuse you and the first time they get that narc supply. So they're always chasing it again, which is why the abuse gets worse and worse and worse. It's like a heroin addict who's going through the DTs, and now they're just starting to lose their mind. And that's when it gets so crazy.
It has to be something similar to that. I don't have any other explanation except that now I really do think, and thankfully I do think that I am on the backside of the recovery. I mean, I have a lot of good days now. Most of my days are actually spent really productive and happy. The only time that I have a really bad day, and I mean, it throws me into, just despair as if I have to deal with one of them. It's never with anybody else or any other problem. It's just with these people. So that tells me finally it really isn't me. It is them with these covert narcs. They have a burning desire to screw with you. And what's really weird about that too, all is that the better I'm not bragging or anything, but I'm actually somewhat successful now, probably more than I ever really thought I would be. But the more successful and happier I got, the more miserable they got around me. The more they tried to tear me down. Which is just so backwards. Like, why? But you're benefiting too.
Right.
Why would you think with those always in competition with your spouse? Why? You're benefiting every dollar I make. You get to enjoy it too. Well, that's a whole other story.
Probably. Well, I could tell you, that. You said when you used to meet people with your ex-wife, they would look at you kind of funny, right? You feel like they were looking at you sideways, right?
Oh, yeah.
Well, probably because your ex-wife, which a lot of us have to deal with who have ex-narcissistic spouses or narcissistic spouses, love to shit talk us when we're not around. Say, how lazy we are, how abusive we are, how much we yell at them, how we're never happy. It sounds to me like that's how your wife was interacting with people when you were not around. So when you meet these people, now they automatically have this impression of you that you're some kind of scumbag who doesn't treat his wife right. And probably because she gets off on one of these, she's only happy being miserable. You got this contingent of narcissists that...
Undoubtedly. Yes, sir. That's exactly what it was. I got over that. I don't want to be unhappy. Life is short. You got to be happy, but they won't let you.
Exactly. They're only happy being miserable. Like they want to go out and get born to lose tattoos across their chest, and that's how they want to live their life. With this pity me, nothing goes right in my life, boo-hoo. So when you're now going out and succeeding, okay, this type of narcissist would rather see you, live in the poor, working, stiff, blue collar, can't get ahead in life because that's how they get their narcissistic supply. So they're not impressed with professional success, okay, because they're happy being miserable. And now it destroys her whole narrative that she might be telling people that you're lazy, you're good for nothing, you don't do anything. Kind of hard to explain that when you're succeeding at your job, you're buying a house, you're getting new cars, you're getting all that stuff. And the more you do, the more miserable they get. And the more you try to make them happy, the angrier they're getting. And you don't understand it because their only happiness is misery.
Exactly. A defining moment with that I have a story. It's a very short one, kind of in the middle of the story is, and this is absolutely just without. I'll even give you the quote at the end of what this woman had told me. We lived in an upper middle class, affluent neighborhood. Nice house, she had a part-time job. She barely worked, which is fine. It wasn't a problem. Okay. And I had two jobs, and one of them was my company. And all I would do is drive around trying to figure out how to please her, and she's always unhappy. All I'm doing is on my mind constantly, what can I do to have her stop treating me just like shit, her and her mother both.
Uh-huh.
And so one day I got off work early, Friday morning, like 10 o'clock. I finished very early. So I manicured the lawn, had a beautiful lawn, okay, nice house. I cleaned it top to bottom, did the laundry, put it away, went grocery shopping, paid the bills, wine, flowers, dinner arrangements on the way. I'm telling you, this is true. Everything I'm telling you is, I'm not over embellishing this. And I'm sitting out in the backyard that she has zero to bitch about now. And we even planned a trip to Europe. I was going to take her.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sitting there in the backyard twisting my wine glass when she drives up. And I was like, okay, I've done all this and it's done and we can have a great weekend. And I see that shitty look on her face. And I said, why can't you say something nice to me or about me? And her quote was, I'm not going to kiss your ass. And I knew that was it. That was my last moment. How can I deal with this?
You can't. Because she
Right away.
resents
No
you
contact.
now. Because now you're doing everything that this supposed, quote unquote, perfect Lifetime movie second guy in the relationship after the first guy abuses her and beats the shit out of her. Now you're playing the second guy in the Christmas sweater, okay, that supposedly every one of these women want, okay, and now she's exposed. Now you're giving everything she wants to her. Now it's, oh, well, now I'm not going to kiss your ass, okay, because she's happy being miserable. Because she's happy being miserable. And the only thing you can do with somebody like that is to get away from them, because they're eventually going to drag you into their misery hole. And that's where they want to be. They're a fun sink.
Initially, it happened right at the very beginning. And there were times when, even at the beginning, I said, I really don't want to marry you. And then we ended up with, a kid. And I believe in staying married with kids if you can.
Mm-hmm.
And how to do the right thing. I mean, once you have kids are involved, to me, it's like, look, whatever the problem is, you need to figure it out. But narcissism is a whole different ballgame. You just can't figure these people out. And quite frankly, I think that she had, the kid just basically to tie me down. I mean, I call it her, I'm sorry if this offends anyone, but I call it her white welfare. I mean, I think she had the kid just to control me and tie me down because she never acted like she cared about him.
Yeah.
If it did, it was just some sort of, it's just kind of a facade, and he suffered for it too.
Oh, I'm sure he did. You got, a lot of women, narcissistic women, have children only for the attention they get off the pregnancy. Once they have that kid, okay, and that reality sets in when that kid cries the first time at night and there's nobody around, and now the real realities of raising a child come into it. Now they don't want anything to do with it anymore. Now they don't want anything to do with it.
Yeah, it seems like it was all about her. I mean, even the day that we were married, this woman walked, I swear to God, and I should have known then just to go get it annulled that day, but she walked across the room and ignored me. It was the weirdest thing. She kept walking. I was like, aren't you supposed to have pictures or something? And she wouldn't even acknowledge that I was there. It was the weirdest thing ever. And I brought that up to her times after that, and she, of course, denied it, but you can actually see in the pictures. You can see her not there. It's the weirdest thing. They all are in their own world. Sometimes I know that they want to hurt people, but sometimes I wonder if they just don't just do it by default, just because maybe they're not developed, or maybe they just have a childlike brain. I don't know. It was very strange. And it was just a pattern that went throughout the whole 16 years.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, I used to get sick. Like sick headaches and things for years and years, and I never could figure it out. One day I said it's moving from house to house, whatever this sickness is. This kind of a nauseous feeling and a sick headache, but nobody else would get it, just me.
Right.
I actually got paranoid about washing my hands. I became a compulsive hand washer, and I wouldn't shake anybody's hands. And one summer in 2005, I got deathly ill, to the point that I lost 18 pounds in 1 week.
Wow.
Okay, and the doctors couldn't figure out what was wrong, and I couldn't keep anything in my body, period. and I was hallucinating. And when it started at the get-go, I called her on the phone at about 10 o'clock in the morning. I said, man, I'm hallucinating. I said, I don't understand. I'm confused. I don't understand what's going on. You got to take me to the hospital. And you know what she told me? She said she was busy. She was in a meeting. She couldn't take me. I think I was poisoned.
Yeah, I would say so. Sounds like she, poisoning is something that's been brought up several times on my channel. Couple people have this very similar stories about, being poisoned by either their mothers or their ex-wives, and it's something that is common with narcissists. They do like, to poison. And, it was probably at a point where, you were succeeding, you were destroying her narrative of misery. So what's the ultimate way for somebody who wants attention off of misery? Okay, this pity me narcissist, okay, which I dealt with my mother and my grandmother are both pity me narcissists. And, to give you an example, the day my grandfather died at 51 when I was 11 months old, so I don't remember that. Right. But apparently when he died, my grandmother insisted on, before the funeral, going down to her shore house 110 miles away, just to let everybody know. Like, why? What? People are getting the announcements. You're like, no, she wanted to go and suck up the misery and the pity supply. And she did the same thing when her brother died, and I was already in my 20s when that happened, and I got to see it firsthand. And because I went down, and I went down to see what the hell was going on, that she went down there with her, and I watched her, and she was fine. She was fine walking if there was nobody in the house. Soon as somebody was coming to visit, oh, my brother, like, whoa, look at this switch pop. This woman is driving 110 miles just to suck up the pity. So that is a huge motivation for why these narcissists try to poison you and kill you, okay, which is why your ex-wife wouldn't drive you to the hospital, so then she could play it off. Oh, I didn't realize. I thought he was, he was just sick. I should have paid attention. And all that sympathy and pity supply is what she was looking for.
Well, let me give you some background. About 2 weeks before that, her mother, who always treated me just really less human being, I mean, she was nicer to her dog than me, made it very clear she hated my guts from the beginning. Apparently, she had made some pasta dish for me, and I didn't eat it. It was in the refrigerator for 2 or 3 days, and I didn't eat it. And the ex got mad that I didn't eat it. I thought, well, why? First of all, I didn't even know why she didn't even make me anything anyway, but she threw it out.
Mm-hmm.
Then that next couple of weeks, there was the plate. I don't remember I won't tell you exactly what was on it, but she said, oh, yeah, well, we got this food from a party, and we don't exactly know who all the people were there, but you can go ahead and have it anyway. They're right. Just covering their ass.
Exactly. I've heard the same exact scenario, and I've talked about it in other videos of stories I've read. Same thing, where the person feeding it to you puts some kind of story behind it of why they're not eating it. They don't know exactly where it came from, to cover their asses. There's a couple videos, I'm not sure which, because there's over 250 now, but there's other videos on this channel where I spoke about the same thing, where, the narcissist tries to poison them, and it's always this mysterious food that they're very protective of, that they only want you to eat. There's some reason why they're not eating it, and they don't know where it came from, or they don't know this, and the same deal. And then you start feeling ill, and they're nowhere to be found, and they're not going to take you because they want you to die. And it's a pattern.
Time and because that's the wrong one. Well, how can it be the wrong one if they both look exactly the same?
Mm-hmm.
And then I went ahead and ate it because I was tired of her shit. And then she picked on hers, never ate one bite, and threw it away.
Right.
I remember this stuff. And the reason why I have a good memory is because I've had to have a good memory from being abused by these people.
Exactly.
You know, it took other people to tell me that I was poisoned. I didn't believe it myself. And it was other women when I told them how she acted when I called it food poisoning for 3 or 4 months in Hawaii. They go, are you fucking out of your mind? Man, come on. You don't have food poisoning for 3 or 4 months. You know, I'd lay in there and get skinnier and skinnier, and they never tested me for poison. And they said, she poisoned you. I said, thank you for being on my side. I appreciate your support, but I know we're going through a divorce. Like, dude, man, you're out of your mind. She poisoned you. And then I started to think about it. I thought, okay, means, motive, and opportunity. Why would she do that? And then I suddenly realized that cheap $17 a month life insurance would have paid off $500,000 for her.
There you go.
Plus, she was sleeping with this other guy at the time who, let me tell you and your viewers something else. This man was 38 years old during our divorce. Her boyfriend, who suddenly appeared out of nowhere, right, he's dead. Okay? That guy was 38 years old and died of, and I'm giving you air quotes now, pneumonia, which is typical of how poisoning reacts.
Right.
Okay? So he was going to rat on her or tell on her something, and because I didn't die. And I took this to the police, and I talked to a detective here, and I've got a briefcase full of evidence. And by the way, if there's anybody that would like to look into this matter, it is years and years old, but if someone would like to look at this and verify to see if this really did happen, I would so appreciate it. Contact me through my Narc Narrowware channel, please, because it absolutely aggravated me for almost a decade now. And it just, you know, I think the bitch tried to kill me, you know, and I'm like, why would you do this? Now I realize why. That guy's dead. Why? At 38 years old, really right during this entire episode? That's kind of not, that doesn't make, I mean, that makes perfect sense, I guess.
It does. It seems like that's what she's looking for. She's looking for her ultimate supply through death. Now, I would be real nervous having my kid around somebody like that, because my next thought would be, well, if she can't kill the men in her life, would she actually turn on your children?
I thought the same thing, but how do you do it? Court systems are so tilted in the favor of the women. I mean, you know what? I finally took every dime I had and went ahead and said, no, give it to a really high-powered lawyer here, and I did. And she did not come out on top. But, you know, they still end up with the women. The women end up with the kids. And she has no business. I'll tell you what she does for a living. I need to keep this anonymous. But, yeah, exactly. How do I, and I've thought about that. How do I get my kid away from her, you know?
It's very difficult. It's very, very, very difficult. But, you know, I don't know if you've done it or not, but, I mean, you said you went to the police, but does she know you think she poisoned you? Is she aware that you believe you poisoned her? She poisoned you and him?
Yes. Okay. My girlfriend is not, she's not American. Okay. She's not from the United States. And some people that are not from our country see things maybe a little clear. I don't know. I think Americans are typically kind of jacked up right now. I don't know why, but that's another episode. But, you know, she's I lost my train of thought. Anyway, she's the one that kind of cued me into this, you know, and when we were she texted me. She used to text me like 20, 30 times a day and then call like 3 or 4 times. And then finally I said one sentence to her. I said, what was that spice you put in my food? And all the texts stopped from June to the end of the year.
Yeah.
It stopped. She stopped making any communication to me after that.
Yeah, because she thought you were onto her, or she knew you were onto her. Yeah, I mean, she to me sounds like she definitely did it. 38-year-olds just don't die of pneumonia. You know, they don't. 38-year-olds don't just die of pneumonia. It doesn't happen. So she sounds like some kind of like Black Widow type, you know, which isn't surprising. But the fact that you've already gotten it out there that you're onto that game might be enough to dissuade her and chase her off, that she can't get away with it.
Exactly. And that's what we're hoping to do, because You know, it bothers me because I see the signs with him where he's like a people pleaser and he's always trying to bend over backwards. And when he's at my home, I'm like, look, think the way it is. Okay, you be you here. You know, we'll be open. You don't have to be a people pleaser here, and you don't have to protect anybody here. You know?
Right.
Because she's got him all screwed up. I can already tell. You know, well, actually, you know that I did an emergency. Hey, Wally, check this out. Remember I don't want to go into it now, but the instance, you know, because everything that happens is my fault. You know, so she's already gotten to his head. You know, it's unavoidable. How can you parent a child every other weekend?
You can't. It is impossible. And that's what it's meant to do. I mean, it's meant to take the father out of the life. All the court cares about is, are you paying your child support? Above that, they don't give a shit. They don't care. They don't care if you see that kid. They don't care if you talk to that kid. They don't care if that kid is running wild with the mother. All they care about, if you're a man, is are you paying your child support? And that's it. And that's it.
It's given the narcissistic women. There are good women out there, and there are marriages that don't work out. And there are people who get divorced and manage to raise kids and manage to handle things appropriately. But when it comes to a narcissistic family and children, they'll use those kids against you, and they'll do everything they can to leverage that life without any care about what it does to the kid. And it's another heartbreaking aspect of this. You know, he does know somewhat about this, about narcissism and how I think our families behave. Trying to get him, to understand as much as a child can understand. You know, can't tell him everything.
How old is he?
He'll be 12.
Yeah, my daughter's 12. This is an age where, you know, if they've been dealing with it for a certain amount of years, they're coming into their own now. So, like, my daughter started really questioning a lot of the stuff that's been going on. So it's like kind of like at the end, it's seen the light. So you just got to be as supportive and understanding and accepting at this point in their lives as you can be, because they're at a point now where they're ready to start fighting back and saying, you know, this stuff doesn't make sense. You know, what you're telling me, how you act, what you do doesn't make sense.
Right, you're right. And so, you know, we can share some of the information, not all, but, you know, this is how Dad does things. That's how your mom does things, and you're going to have to make your own decision as you go. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is heartbreaking. He was the actual leverage that they used between the entire reason for my phone call to you was the reason for the meeting, which I apparently understand they did not have because he protested, said he didn't want to do it to see either one of them really. But that was the reason. I think they've done pretty much the last thing they could do to me anyway. But now I've got these kids, and so they just continue. Mm-hmm. You can't win with a narcissist.
No.
Yes,
and you know, when it's an ex-wife or an ex-husband and there's children involved, you can't go completely no contact. You know, it's impossible, because you're going to have to, if you want to have any relationship with your child, you're going to have to deal with that person on some level, you know, right. And that's the unfortunate thing, which is why your mother and your family support her. You know, because it's a way of keeping their hooks into you by proxy through your kid. So the way to get to the kid is through your ex-wife, who you hate, okay? And then it's a means of staying in your life and controlling whatever they can in your life, as you know. And that's why so many of our narcissist ex-parents side with our exes. Even though most of the time during the marriage, the parents hated that ex. Why, when you were married to them, okay, I don't know if this is the case with you, but certainly in my case and many, many other cases, when they were married to these narcissistic exes, the parents hated them as much as they hated you because you were married to them. Once the divorce happens, now they're all hanging out. Now they're one big alliance of evil.
Sorry to laugh, but that is it. They're one big alliance of evil. There's no other way to explain these people. And you know what? The no contact isn't always the best thing. I should have just been low contact with my mother, try to manage the situation the best I can, because it's impossible to go no contact.
Mm-hmm.
It's just something, everybody has some problem in life. This is mine.
Right.
It's a big one, but you know, I mean, it's clear now, and it's thanks to you, your channel, Ollie. Seriously, I watched you since probably the third video, and I think I've seen them all, you know, and it keeps me clear. You and a few other folks. I think there's a Showbound lady in Norway who's awesome as well. But you know, I just, if it wasn't for these 4 or 5 channels, I don't think I would have made it. Seriously, I thought I would have probably done something really stupid by now. But,
well, I appreciate that. And, you know, I think the reason why my channel works and some other channels work are, you know, because you're hearing people's actual stories that you would normally be telling to some quote unquote therapist or professional, you know, that's following these HIPAA guidelines. And HIPAA's fine because you do need privacy with a doctor. But at the end, a lot of times it damages you because the problem with narcissism and being abused by people with personality disorders and narcissistic personality issues is, you know, you've gone through so much and you've dealt with so much and you've internalized to survive. Like you said, you're like a recorder. I was like a recorder because I had to be. It was my only method of protection. Okay? So, you know, you expend so much energy in it, and you think you must be the only person that's ever gone through this in your life, and that you are so unique. And then when you hear your story coming out of other people's mouths, okay, the same things you went through, the same feelings you've had, the same instances of gaslighting and being made fun of and being humiliated, and then when you try to stand up for yourself, being made to feel like you're crazy. When you hear that, people said, I went through this, and you read the comments of the people saying this and sharing their same stories, you're like, holy shit, I'm not alone. I'm not crazy. It's not just me. And these people, this isn't, the fact that we find out that this isn't unique and it isn't even all that uncommon, as scary as it is, comes as a comfort to us. Because holy shit, look at how many people are dealing with this, have dealt with this, the exact same thing. And these people that abused us are not these geniuses. They're not these ultimate great manipulators who've come up with the ultimate scam that nobody can see through. They can't see through. No, they absolutely can be seen through if we all just talk to each other about our stories. And then they become so less intimidating because you're not original. You're not that smart. You're not that cunning. You're just following what every other narcissistic scumbag does. You're not even original in your thoughts.
That's exactly it. It's exactly it. When I heard the same thing, when I saw it earlier, I was like, man, our stories aren't exactly the same, but it was enough that I was like waiting for the next video. I'm like, come here, listen to this guy. Listen, this is exactly, or not exactly, but this is similar to what happened. You've got to, anyways, if it wasn't for these channels, look, Ollie, I appreciate your time and your channel. You have no idea. I'm so grateful. And also, I wanted to say that I really do look forward to the day that you get to have a normal relationship with your daughter. I know that's why you started the channel, and I'm thankful that you have a lot of followers, and a lot of us really do appreciate it. So I want to throw that in there before I sign off. I want to leave you with one thing too. I left a comment on your wife's one of her videos too. There's something similar for anybody else that's watching it. 5 years ago in April, when they were the ex was at her heyday of tearing my life to pieces, I was completely hollowed out. I was laying in the back of the house, that big house I was telling you about, with a loaded 380, and it was cocked, and it was at my temple. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And I had a thought, and the thought was, if you do that, you will not get to see how this turns out. This is as bad as it gets. It doesn't get any worse than that.
Nope.
So I got up and cleaned myself up, went on to work, decided I was going to make it through this. And I found you guys several years later. And I'm going to tell you, once you get through the other side of these narcs, and you don't even understand. I mean, I'm sure you do. Sometimes I have like peace and calm that I never even had it, because I never had it growing up, and I never had it while I was married, but I have it now.
Right.
So don't do what I did and just lay there, and get back on the channels, watch any of these channels, just get up and watch them, because it does get better. Once you figure out you're not the problem and it really is them, man, everything opens up. So.
Yep. Once you realize if you kill yourself, they've won, and they can.
And they get the ultimate prize. They get the pity. They get the money. They get the house. Everything.
And they get to say, you see, he was just crazy. He had so many problems. Ollie had so many problems. Narcmare had so many problems. And I tried so hard behind this. I so tried, and I couldn't. And now they got it. Now they got the pity, and now they control the history. And you can't let that happen, no matter what. So thank you very much for everything, Narcmare. Thank you for your honesty. If you want to do this again, we'd definitely be open to it. Excellent call, and I really appreciate it. Just hang on the line 1 second. Everyone else, please leave your comments in the comment section below. Let me know what you think, any feedback. I know a lot of you have dealt with the same issues. And again, if you'd like to do a call like this with me as well, and you enjoy this channel, please consider making a contribution to the PayPal link in the description box below. And we could do a call like this, and a contribution of any amount. If you want your story read on the channel, you go right to the top of the list. This is Ollie Matthews. Thanks for watching. I'll see you all again shortly. Take care. Bye.